Welcome to Sober Living Snippets, the podcast helping people over 40 live alcohol-free so you can improve your relationships, feel youthful again, and finally ditch regret and shame. Hello, people. It is snippet time. We are back. It's Monday, and I'm super excited about this week. I've got a theme for you. I have for you this week 5 ways to stay sober once you are sober. 5 days, 5 ways. Starting today, it's a Monday. Of course, you're listening in the future, won't really matter, but that's okay. The next 5 episodes are on this topic. But today, I really want to get us oriented on what I'm talking about here. You know, you don't need me to tell you how to stay sober. A simple Google search, you'll get everything you need. You're going to get all sorts of information. You'll very quickly notice that you're getting the same information over and over again. And I'm not going to say any of that. That's what I want you to know. This week, you're not going to get any of that. What I am going to do is I'm going to point out some of the ways that we are told to stay sober and why I think most of them don't work. All right. So one of the things that really bugged me when I was on my long journey to sobriety, over 30 years of failure, many counselors, detox, treatment, psych ward, been there, done all that, and bought the t-shirt every time. Ha ha. And I would get all these counselors and all this advice and doctors, and none of them were addicted to alcohol. None of them were addicted to anything that I knew of. And so they had this advice, and it's the same advice you'll find doing a Google search. As an alcoholic, recovered now, but at the time wasn't, as a person, I can tell you that the advice I got just felt just like, are you kidding me? So let me give you some examples. Now, okay, let me also back up and just try to be a little kinder. They mean well, and in fact, the advice is good in some ways. It makes sense what they're telling us. The problem is that when you're in the thick of it, it's just like, how do I do that? Like, I just don't get it. How do I do that? How do I do that? It's easy for you to say, but how do I do it? So, some examples are identify your triggers. Well, first of all, when I get told that one, I'm like, I know what they are. Like, I know what triggers me. And in the last 10 years of my drinking, just being awake triggered me. I've told you that before. We know what triggers us. Okay, so identify my triggers. At the end of the day, everything's a trigger. The time, 4 p.m.'s a trigger. How am I supposed to avoid that? So triggers always bugged me. And if you've listened to some of the past episodes, you know my thoughts on triggers. I have talked about them, but I find it seems to me that the people who aren't addicted to alcohol seem to make a big deal out of triggers. I'm like, I don't get that. Like, anyway, identifying a trigger never helped me, not once. So you won't hear me talking much about that this week. In fact, at all. There, I'm done. Other ones have a plan. Well, duh. Yeah, got a plan, right? Practice self-care. Let me tell you this. When I want to drink, the last thing on my mind is self-care. I want to drink. Oh, I guess I better go have a bath. I mean, like, give me a break. All I'm going to do is take a bottle of wine with me. Look, I'm not trying to be facetious. I'm not trying to be funny. Well, maybe a little bit, but I am trying to say that it would be nice if we could get some real advice on how to stay sober. So this week is for those of us who don't drink anymore or have some time under our belt. Maybe it's iffy. Maybe you've got a day or two, or maybe you've quit in the past and failed and quit and failed and quit and failed like I did. And it was that time, that trying to get some time and stay sober. That's what this week is going to be about. That time where you get, because, I want you to know that if you do it right and you're actually recovering, you get to a point where you don't have to worry about staying sober. You just don't care anymore. You literally don't care about alcohol. And that's where I am. It took me, let me think here. I've been sober 6 years. I would say the first year was iffy. But then it just, you know what? I worked my ass off that year. I really did. And I failed and I relapsed and I came back and I bounced back but gets to a point, if you do it right and you're in recovery and you've got the proper, you're working on it, that you wake up one day and realize, I don't care about alcohol anymore. In fact, it's ridiculous. Why would I want to drink? And if you're in the throes of the addiction, you're probably thinking, wow, what would that be like? And I remember that was always my thought. Like, I didn't expect that to ever happen to me. I thought, that's never going to be me, man, because you have no idea how addicted I am. I'm obsessed with alcohol. It goes with everything. It's what I do. It's just part of my life. And I couldn't imagine it. And now I'm there. And if I can get there, you can get there. I'm off track, but that's what happens here in the snippets. I get off track because I got to follow my heart. My heart is with you because I know how you feel. So I'm not going to give you this week tips like identify your trigger, practice self care. That is not where we're going. I'm going to talk to you about what it's like and things that I believe you can do coming directly from someone who's been there. And today's piece of advice, thought, whatever, is going to be this. And you're going to hate me for it, but I'm going to go for it. It's just today. So stick with me. Tomorrow, I promise it'll be something different. But today, I'm going to say get support. Now, you're going to hear that, or you're going to find that when you do your Google search, but it's not going to be the same support that I'm talking about. I am talking about support from people that are also going through what you're going through. That's not too hard to do as long as you're just not sitting one-on-one with a counselor who's never been there. Look, I'm not saying don't get go ahead, get a counselor if you want, but I found it really hard to relate to people who'd never felt who I felt. So you want to end up in a community of people who are also getting sober, who are also recovering or who have in the past. So be careful about the type of support you get. But I do believe we need support. And you've heard me say this over and over. And no, it's not just because I offer that support, although I do. And it just so happens it's the best on freaking planet Earth. But I say that because when we try and do it alone, we spiral into isolation. We tell ourselves stories. It's the nature of alcohol that we really need someone to help us pull our head out of our ass, or we're going to spiral. We just are. I mean, if you don't have somebody else there who knows how you're feeling, and it doesn't usually take much, if you've got your ducks in a row, your little alcoholic duck buddies in a row, haha, meaning your community or whatever, it doesn't take much for them to help us go, okay, wait a minute, rethink this when we're feeling that urge or when we actually relapse. That's going to happen too. And we're going to talk about that this week, by the way. That's another episode. But I know that you need support. And that is why I do these snippets. I come in here every single weekday and I talk to you because if you're trying to get sober, you need something. I do not believe, I'll be honest, I do not believe the snippets are enough because it's a one-way street. You need somebody who knows you and loves you. Accountability is what we get when we have the right community. And accountability means, do you remember? This is a quiz because we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. What is accountability? Hands up, people, hands up. Anybody? Accountability in this world, my world, and I'm the snippet person. I get to decide what goes on in my world. Accountability is people who love us and remind us of our dream. They just look at us and go, remember you said this is what you wanted. You have a dream. You have something you want to accomplish. Remember that? Because we forget. The alcohol will make us forget our dream and tell us lies that we want something else. Actually, that's not what I want. What I really want is a hot bath and a bottle of wine. What I really want is a case of beer and I want to go fishing or whatever it is. That's the lies we'll get told. The right community will say that's actually not what you said, because addiction to alcohol is an illness of forgetting. We literally can't even remember. When we want to drink, we can't even remember what we wanted. All we know is we want to drink. That's what would happen to me. I'd be like, did I? Oh no, because really all I want right now is a drink and nothing else freaking matters. Like, I might say, I want to be healthier. I want a better relationship with my husband. I want this, I want that. But really, what I want is a drink. How do you talk yourself out of that? You don't. And that's why you need support. So, tip number one of the week for staying sober, coming from someone who knows, someone who's been there, is get support. Get the support you need. Now, I've got a daily do for you. Dare I sing? It's the daily do. No, that's not it. One day I'll find it. If you're following along and doing the daily do, then congratulations. I'm checking and I see that you are. So many of you are downloading the daily do tracker. And that is simply, you do that simply by going to the show notes, clicking the link, and you can print off the little daily do tracker and you can check off 30 daily do's in a row. And when you do that, you send it in to me and I'm going to put it in a draw for a one-on-one coaching session with me. And I mean a coaching session, not a sales call. Okay, so please know that. At the same time, you'll get an honorable mention on the show, first names only. So you get to hear your name and we'll celebrate you because it's worth celebrating. Anyway, the daily do for today. Now today is a Monday. That means that yesterday and the day before was the weekend. There is a quiz and review. Did you know that when it's Monday, that yesterday and the day before were the weekend? Okay, I'm kidding, of course. But what it means is that you just had two really easy do's in a row, because on the weekends, we do the same do's every weekend. And what we do is we drink an extra glass of water on one day and we eat a piece of fruit on the other. Super simple, not going to make you have a little panic attack unless you're afraid of water. I don't. So I think we need to be a little bit challenged today. Okay, so here we are. Your daily do for today is to send a message to somebody who needs to hear from you. Send a message to somebody who needs to hear from you. Now, I've had you make phone calls in the past. I've had you send love simply through visualization. This time, you can do it any way you want. You could visualize them and send them sincere and honest love from your heart. But this doesn't have to be someone you're having difficulty with. This is just somebody who needs to hear from you. I want you to be the helper today. Your daily do today is to be the helper for someone else in need. If you're struggling, the best thing you can do is help somebody else. There is somebody in your life who needs to hear from you. And whether that's a text or an email or a phone call or in person, today I would like you to do that. Send a message to somebody who needs you. That is your daily do, and that is your snippet. And we have launched the week, and I can hardly wait to come back and give you more on staying sober tomorrow. Sending you love. Bye-bye. Thanks for popping in. Be sure to come back tomorrow so we can keep your head on straight. Sending you buckets of love.